We are in an epoch of unprecedented changes, chaos, and system reset. The economies are in shambles, the supply chains are being disrupted, lockdowns are perpetual. Under these difficult circumstances, pharmaceutical professionals play a very important role. They have to be intrinsically be good practitioners. And in this context, it is my privilege to share with you some of my life science lessons in the PAT to QBD journey, which has been our journey together. The PAT to QBD journey for me began in the year 2000. It is now maturing, among other things, in the form of continuous manufacturing in the year 2022. On this journey, some lessons that have helped me make good sense more broadly of why quality cannot be tested into products. It must be by design, that is by intent, have become more and more clear. Today, the journey continues to generate guidance documents such as ICH Q12 and Q13. These guidances are to facilitate, among other things, valid maturity of systems, processes, and professionals. The notion of quality by design was derived from the 1987 guidance of FDA on process validation. The year 2000 was the year when we initiated discussions on the PAT initiative, which was launched later in the year 2000. And then began the journey in ICH, which we call Pharmaceutical Quality for the 21st Century. ICH Q8, Q9, Q10, 11, 12, and 13 are an outcome of that initial effort. 2011, FDA issued its process validation guideline, and in 2022, FDA is progressing its efforts on quality metrics and quality management maturity approach to regulating pharmaceutical manufacturing. Life is a process, so is science. Life science lessons for a pharmaceutical professionals relate to their professional development. So in this presentation, I have anchored my thinking on scientific training and experience to make effectiveness decisions fairly and responsibly in the context of the US Kaifa-Harris Amendment or the Drug Efficacy Amendment, which were established in 1962 to the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act of 1938. So these amendments brought in the notion of scientific training and experience to make decisions fairly and responsibly. Professional development in the context of suitability and capability in the ways like we think about statistical process control provide us professionals within the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector to leverage the guidance documents on process validation, PAT, and others to also internalize these principles to support our own professional development. And professional development should result, among other things, make us proactive, prevent errors, and make us adaptable to the changing environment, particularly in chaos. So how do adults continue to develop? Why do some develop at a faster rate than others? And why some adults stop developing altogether? Some of the answers for these questions are in the constructive development theory of adult human development. In the book In Over Our Head by Professor Keegan, these stages in adult human development are, are five. The first being impulse control, and the second being imperialist. In this figure, under P2, professional stage P2, I have put those two together, impulse control to control freaks. Socialized mind, self-authored mind, and self-transforming mind are stages of adult development. Self-authored mind is at minimum expected of us. It is at this stage that we begin to have a systems orientation and to really appreciate systems, to bring empathy in our decision making. We need to go beyond the egoistic aspects of being self-authored to be self-transforming. So I want to keep this in mind as we discuss lessons learned, my lessons learned in this presentation. To share my life science lessons collected on the PAT to QPT journey, I have put together SMART objectives in mind for professional development, alongside SMART technology and SMART systems, factories, and cities. The maturity aspects of smart city, smart factory, smart technology provide us a basis to think about how we relate to stages in adult human development and to derive smart objectives, which we are familiar with in project management aspect, for example. In the accelerating Industry 4.0 revolution, many in the pharmaceutical sector will be competing for their jobs with artificial intelligence. A maturity model, a digital plant maturity model that was developed by Bioforum is illustrated in this figure. It goes from pre-digital plant over to digital silos, to a connected plant, to a predictive plant, to an adaptive plant. Step by step, it takes the responsibility for routine activities away from humans and transfers that to automation and artificial intelligence. The world we are moving into is a very different world, and we will need skill sets to do this right. Scientific training is a key component, obviously, and our education systems evolve very slowly, and many in the pharmaceutical sectors will have to re-engineer their education system, and many will have to only rely on what education they have and to add on continuing education. But my emphasis today is on experiential learning as the component, which is education and training is obviously necessary but not sufficient. We will need to mature on the basis of our experiential learning. Many of you are in factories which are on this momentum, moving towards a smart factory at different rates. Are you in a factory that is a development laggard or low moderate development? If so, why? Is it because the management and staff is lagging in their development? Becomes a question. The leading edge of smart factory to march towards smart factory is at level 3 right now. A few companies will accelerate and move to 4 and 5 very quickly in the next decade. How will others compete in this competitive environment is a question you must ponder now. Our development, as I noted earlier, goes from impulse control to an imperialist mindset where we are control freaks. We become socialized, being good. This is a stage where we don't want to rock the boat. This is a stage also where we have the challenge of groupthink, blind spots, blind compliance, and we are seeking external validation. When we reach the stage of being self-authored, we have our internal validation. We have our internal expertise and internally validated, but it comes with an ego aspect. Overcoming that ego, we go towards self-transforming to see good. We go from looking good, being good, doing good, to be able to see good for human's sake, for humanity. And I think that's the direction we have to go alongside our technological development. If not, we will be subservient to technology. Our goal needs to be that of vigilant internal validation in a complex and chaotic reality. Bringing together smart objectives, that means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely objectives for our annual performance review, as well as smart technology, which is self-monitoring analysis reporting technology. Bringing those together, I think in the PAT to Pharma 4.0 or Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0 context is a way for us to self-empower our development. Attention on observations, awareness of our intention, which I wish to explain a bit more in this presentation. My journey to learn how I learn from experience is the narrative of this presentation. Experience means to feel. It's a verb, that is, it's a process. It is in constant need for internal validation, and at a stage of development where we are socialized, there's an internal desire for external validation. But with our expertise and the knowledge we gain, we acquire internal validation and we diminish the need for external validation. But the value of external validation never goes away. Let me explain that. The model for drug development is pre-market, pre-regulatory approval, research and development. After regulatory approval, we have technology transfer, process validation, commercial manufacturing under continued process verification. We are operating under known knowns, at least for the critical quality attributes. And we have to focus attention on achieving the critical quality attributes which are part of the quality target product profile. However, given that research and development was done in different part of the organization, we always have to be worried about effectiveness of technology transfer, knowledge transfer. At the same time, within operations, you have individuals at different stages of their maturity, development and maturity. So we have to be vigilant in the known unknowns arena, and keen observations of anything new that comes up has to be accounted for. Similarly, unknown knowns. Ineffective knowledge transfer might mean that some knowledge might still remain in R&D that you need to solve to get to a root cause of a problem in manufacturing. So you have to have unknown knowns, and this is an opportunity to learn and expand awareness. And clearly, nothing is perfect. So there are aspects of unknown unknowns, and we have to be vigilant uh, throughout the process in focusing on our principles, our intentions. Principles could be first, do no harm. How we learn across these domains of known knowns to unknown unknowns, experience plays a very important role. However, experience is to feel, and how we learn from experience varies considerably among our community, because experiential learning is more subjective. It is based on a number of other things which we necessarily do not learn in formalized education and training. Furthermore, experience occurs in fleeting moments in which there are numerous interactions and interrelationships among our thoughts, feelings, prior knowledge, etc. Opportunity to learn from experience is in connecting the dots to make sense of emergent patterns of what I attend to, perceive, observe, and think, and how it makes me feel, and to know the reason why I feel this way. This is a key learning of a pharmacist over last 20 years. Making contemporaneous notes of how I feel, think when I observe something in a professional or a personal context is an opportunity to capture my learning, experiential learning. And since the year 2014, December 2014, I have shared my experiential learning in my on my LinkedIn with my LinkedIn network with community members. And this has helped me considerably to connect the dots, to recognize patterns of the feelings, intentions, thoughts that occur in different contexts when I'm observing different aspects. Say, for example, root cause, when there is a deviation from GMP, when you have to do root cause investigations, etc. And ensuring data integrity, ensuring integrity of experiential learning go hand in hand here. And my observations has been is many in the community are addicted to social media, but they only copy paste and use the social media in suboptimal way. To use social media to learn from experience, one can use those for making contemporaneous notes and share it with the network of community members in a way that allows us to get feedback, to support external validation of our thoughts and our understanding and our learning, but at the same time be positive contributors on the social media rather than simply copy paste and simply forward something on WhatsApp and so forth. So this is an important aspect. The ICH-Q10 model for pharmaceutical management, quality management system takes a product life cycle approach, and annual product reviews stacked together over the years become a spiral. Taking a spiral perspective, not a recycle perspective, I think is an important consideration in experiential learning. Spiral dynamics has been on my mind since my time at FDA, at the time when we launched the PAT initiative. So here was one example of spiral dynamics that I had envisioned of guidances evolving and taking us towards the desired state. Within an organizational hierarchy, the hierarchy ideally is based on merit, pure merit. And what separates us in the hierarchy is our scientific training and experience to make decisions fairly and responsibly. Experience, the feeling aspects of experience, not the knowledge aspect, are really the fractal within that connects us throughout the organization. So my mind has been on a fractal model for quality management system, which I'm not talking about in this particular presentation, but think about spiral is a way to keep expanding your awareness. And to expand your awareness, you have to also go on tangent to go outside your comfort zone. And this is a topic I'm covering in my Smart Shepherding Practice newsletter on LinkedIn. If you are, you may want to take this up. But the whole idea of development and maturity of organizations, systems, people come together in my mind. For example, in a paper I had written about the Amgen story, Amgen's journey to Six Sigma, and adopted the development model to position and explain the efforts that Amgen took to break the 2 to 3 Sigma barrier and achieve a higher level of maturity to get to Six Sigma. So this is an important, useful tool to consider as a tool to self-empower our professional development. In the unprecedented epoch of uncertainty we are confronting today, attention to intention poses many challenges. Whenever you have a situation of fear and anxiety, our orders of consciousness is reduced significantly. And today one can observe um, the deterioration of orders of consciousness all across our institutions as well as our society. And we are in a precarious period, and yet to be fair and responsible, we in our duty is to be good practitioners. And to be able to do so, I believe we have to invest significant time and effort to self-empower independent experiential learning and internal validation. In a corporation and HR context, clearly I think efforts have to be undertaken to facilitate development of cognitive, digital, interpersonal leadership skills. But internal validation and self-empowerment is a key. A key lesson I learned on the PAT to QBT journey was to emphasize and pay attention to the process of sense making and to leverage sense making. The PAT guidance define process understanding, and understanding relates to our prior knowledge acquired through education and training. Sense making is more general, it's more subjective. In a multidisciplinary team effort, we have different expertise that have to come together. But the meanings of words such as validation, assurance, which are can be subjective, and one has to rely on sense making to complete the effort that is built on understanding in particular disciplines and to integrate across disciplines. So a simple model for leveraging sense making is this chart where we go from physical domain to information domain to cognitive domain, where we have objects and events which we observe and translate or represent as data, and data is contextualized to become information, and that information is the source of situation awareness across different disciplines. across different individuals in a team, and that has to be shared awareness. And that shared awareness interacts with our ways of thinking, mental models, our prior knowledge, and results in an understanding which is related to our uh, background, context, our scientific training, and so forth. And unless we are able to articulate this in a way that it makes sense across all organization, across the entire organization, if, say, for example, what process validation really means in the context of, say, the 2011 process validation guideline consideration, we miss out on important elements. The key there is to be able in a professional setting to account for our emotions, beliefs, and perceptions in an objective way that allows us to make good sense across different educational backgrounds and experiential backgrounds. So in that sense, I think if we follow the cycle here, once we have understanding and it makes sense across the organization among professionals of different backgrounds, then one can conclude with a judgment, and then that judgment becomes an intent command. That begins the planning process, becomes directive, which has to be synchronized across teams, leads to action. Action lead to outcomes, which lead to data, and so forth. So the decision support tools are our ability to ask the right questions at stages 1, 2, and 3, and providing a means to allow team members to ask questions for clarification, to make sense, and to achieve a deeper shared understanding. I think, say, in a team meeting where we have to make go no go decisions, an agenda topic of sense making and leveraging that sense making to support team synchronization, I think, is a key element in experiential learning process. This pandemic has made all of us patient. And in this unique sensing proclivity, it is our duty to ensure what we do, the products we produce, are better than placebo. And here, experiential learning is our opportunity to speak with one quality voice, to be able to hear the voice of patients, and to fill the gaps between quality of development and effectiveness QMS to the assurance of quality patients need, to a patient satisfaction. And the key summary sentence that I want to share with you is: care is research. Research defined broadly, not just laboratory research. Thought experiments, research in our mind are also research. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is in practice. I Here are some of my articles that you can access if you wish to explore further how I have learned to learn from my experience. Most of these articles that I've written are based on my contemporaneous notes, taking a development stance, and my efforts were to making self-authorship self-transforming. That's the development stage I seek to maintain. It's not easy. All of our development stages are nested within us. I want to look good. I want to see good. I want to do good. I want to be good. Think about it from that perspective. In parting, I wish to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. And the take home message for me is a reflection on my life: wiser today than yesterday, maturing self to mature technology and society. Thank you. I hope this conference is very informative and it will help you in your development. Thank you again.